Go ahead, Anna.
All right,
Stop
one
share
second.
so you can share your screen.
All right, I'm going to share. Give me one moment. All right, hopefully everyone can see my slides. Okay, so welcome everyone. I am Anna Plaisance. I have been working in the 3D art and gaming industry for over 10 years, and we'll be talking about 3D art and innovation, specifically in gaming. So a little bit more about me. I'm a 3D artist at Jazwares Game Studio. Jazwares you might have heard of before or know of some of our products. We are the makers of the popular plushie brand Squishmallows. You can see in the background, I have some examples of Squishmallows. We also do a lot of toys like Nerf guns and figurines and other Roblox toys. I have another example here, one second. Recently, we launched our Royal High toys. So we also do stuff like this, dolls and whatnot. And within Jazzwares, we have a game studio, which is what I work for. And we make Roblox games based on the toys that we make. I also have a degree in animation from DePaul University, so I know a little bit about how to make film and TV with 3D art. I'm also a Roblox UGC creator and contractor, so I've done work for Roblox in the past and have made a lot of UGC fashion accessories. So if you've ever been on the Roblox catalog before, you might have seen some of my hats or other accessories to kind of doll up your Roblox character and make it more personalized. And I'm also a toys and games enthusiast, and I have been for a very long time. So I'm working in a field that I really love. So what you'll need for today's class, not required, just recommended. You're totally okay if you just want to sit back, relax, and watch. But if you do want to follow along later on, we'll be doing a short demo, and I'll be showing you exactly how we make 3D art in software like Blender, and then transfer that art to Roblox Studio to help make your game. So things you might need is a PC mouse, so basic mouse for your computer. It helps you navigate 3D software easier. If you just have a trackpad on a laptop, it might be a little bit harder, but like I said, if you can't follow along, it's totally okay. You can just watch, and if you want to come back to the recording later and watch it and follow on that way, totally fine. Blender we'll be using today. Blender is a free software. You can just Google Blender and it'll come up. You can just download it right off the rip. You don't have to pay for anything. It's totally open source and free for everyone to use. Same with Roblox Studio and a Roblox account. You can sign up for free and also download Roblox Studio for free. Some demo files. If you can't follow along in Blender, I do have this as an option. I think this was forwarded to you beforehand, but like I said, if you don't have these files, it's totally fine. And readiness to learn. Don't worry if you fall behind, it's totally okay. You can watch the recording again later. So basics, what is 3D art? 3D art is three-dimensional art that includes height, width, and depth. So that can include anything like sculpture in real life. That's technically 3D art, just in physical space. So if you were to go to a museum and see a sculpture, it is a form of 3D art. But also we have 3D art digitally and on the computer, and that's how we make things like video games and film and market things to advertise architecture, 3D printing, healthcare, all of those things use 3D art and quite a bit. Video games, you all know, like Roblox is all made up of 3D art. So films like Shrek or Toy Story are all made of 3D art. It's not hand drawn, it's made on a computer, and people have like a lot of different jobs that go into that. So 3D artists and people who rig the characters and animators. There's a lot of work that goes into that kind of film. Marketing. So like I said, it's like a a basic flat image like I have on the side here, but it's made of 3D art, something that I made in Blender. So that's advertising one of my games, Squishmallows on Roblox. Architecture, architects frequently will use 3D art to design their buildings beforehand. So before they put all the work into making an actual building, they'll make it on a computer first. 3D printing, you could take a 3D model on a computer and print it if you have a 3D printer to make a real-life sculpture. And healthcare, a lot of surgeons also use 3D art as a way to kind of figure out how they're going to do specific surgeries beforehand.
So did you create most of the art that shown in this presentation?
Yeah, so almost all of it I did create. If there's something I didn't create, I'll point it out. But most of these pieces I did make myself, yes.
That's cool. And by the way, the one I showed you guys earlier that I got from her at the Roblox conference, and Anna actually created that herself, like designed it and 3D printed and then produced it, which is really cool.
Yeah. Some examples of 3D art in games. There's three different major categories that 3D art can fall into. So one is characters. So we have Cameron the cat here is a character. Your Roblox avatar could technically also be a character. Or maybe you made a different character that you play as, and that's the main character of your game. That's all made of 3D art props. So we have example here of an apple. So maybe something you hold and eat is a prop, or maybe a sword that you swing, or a fishing pole that you use to go fishing. It's another example of 3D art. An environment, so the world around you, the trees, the bushes, the floor you walk on, streets, it's all environmental 3D art. So what is Blender? So Blender is a tool that we use, a lot of Roblox developers use in the industry and beyond just Roblox developers to make 3D art. So Blender is a free 3D graphic software that is used for creating 3D objects, animations, visual effects, and more. So you can do a lot in this program, especially for something that's completely free. You could open it today and start learning, and it's going to look very intimidating at first because there's a lot of different buttons and tools, but usually it's just one of those things that you have to kind of sit down and kind of play with in order to learn. So I make all my 3D art for the most part in Blender, and then I'll take that 3D art and I'll move it to Roblox. So the Roblox, the studio that I work for in Jazwares does all Roblox games. So we produce a lot of different things. Roblox in particular is an online gaming platform that allows users to both play and create their own games for free. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of or have played Roblox. It is very, very popular these days. So some examples of Roblox games we have at the top, we have Roblox High School 2, which I also developed for a bit in the past. So that's like a high school role play game. We have Sunnydale Daycare, which I also made all the 3D art for Jazwares Game Studio, which is a daycare game where you can be a daycare worker or a toddler or a nurse, and you can play with your friends in our own little world. Also, there's, games that Roblox themselves make. So, for example, a recent event was Roblox Classic, where they brought back classic Roblox games and Roblox styles in order for uh, users to all, enjoy and kind of have a bit of a throwback. So we're gonna get started right away into our demo. It's gonna be very quick. There's gonna be a lot of tools and a lot of things that might be very confusing. So if you do want to follow along, you can. But like I said, don't worry if you fall behind. It's totally okay. We will just, you don't freak out. Just sit back and watch, and then you can come back to it later. It's totally fine.
Actually, I'm going to interrupt very quickly as you're
Yes.
bringing up the Blender. For those of you who play either Roblox or maybe even other games, what are some of the games that you have noticed that you really enjoy the art or the design of the game? You guys could put in the chat and share with everyone. Just like, yeah,
Yeah.
you enjoy the mechanics of the game, but actually enjoy the art and the design in the game. Can you think of any? can put in the chat and put in a couple game names in the chat. Dress to Impress,
Oh, that's a good one.
Minecraft. Dress to Impress actually won some awards this year, right? In
It
the
did it. It won many awards.
okay,
It took off this year and was very, very popular.
yeah, yeah. I think multiple people said Dress to Impress. Yeah, they definitely won multiple award. Bed Wars,
Bed Wars, it's another good one.
cool. Well, you guys can keep adding in the chat like games that you really enjoy the art airsoft battles. Have you? I don't know. I have War
Mm,
Thunder, Fortnite, War Thunder.
Boxed Roots, yep.
Very cool. All right.
Some
Well,
good ones.
you guys can keep going, and then Anna, go ahead and shall I to interrupt you?
All right, just double checking. You can see my screen still. You can see Blender open here. Hopefully you can. So I opened up a blank Blender file. I'm gonna even go more blank. So this is what you open Blender for the first time you'll see. You might see a splash screen that says pick your key map and it'll say Blender or industry. Um, I usually do the industry compatible version of the keybinds, so I will be doing that. If you miss that screen and you are following along, you can also go to Edit, Preferences, Key Map here, and up here at the top it'll say Blender, Blender 227X, and industry compatible. We're gonna select industry compatible. Otherwise, the keys I'm pressing might be different from yours. Okay, so we are going to do a very basic demo of what Blender is. So this is what it looks like when you first open it. It's kind of scary when you first see it because there's so many tabs and so many icons, but we will learn a few of them today, so you're not quite as lost. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just drag over these items. There's a camera and a light and a cube in here. I'm going to press delete just to get rid of them because we're not going to be using those. Basic movements for camera. So this is the viewport right here in main screen. This is going to be where you're viewing your objects in 3D space. So this is how we're going to view the item I'm creating. If you want to delete, just select the items on see if there's a cube. You can press the cube and hit delete on your keyboard to get rid of it. Um, but we're going to start off and just go over the camera, so how you move in your 3D space. So for industry compatible keys, we're just going to be holding Alt on our keyboard, and then the movements for how to move your camera is all going to be on your mouse. So your left mouse button while holding Alt is going to be moving your camera up and down, left and right, and then you let go, and Alt middle mouse button is to pan your camera side to side. And then also Alt and right button is to zoom in and out. Like I said, if you fall behind or anything and don't know how to do something, it's totally okay just to sit back and watch. You can watch and also just play along and whatever you want in Blender and just kind of figure things out for yourself. Sometimes it's the best way to learn, is just kind of to explore. Um, So we're gonna be making a top hat. Hopefully everyone knows what a top hat is. An example would be if you think of Frosty the Snowman, he has a very tall black hat. We're gonna be making one of those. It's a very simple object, and it's gonna be something that we can import to Roblox Studio to, even if you wanted to potentially upload as a fashion accessory to the Roblox catalog once you have access to UGC creation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add our first geometry. So I'm going to go to add at the top here, mesh, then cylinder. And we have our first cylinder, our first shape in Blender. I'm gonna do this. Let's see, we have object mode up at the top here, and it'll show us different options. So we're gonna stay in object mode and click our shape, and it'll have this little gizmo pop up. With this little gizmo or gimbal, we can pull the arrows to go up and down, left and right, forward and back. If you ever want to undo a movement, you hit Control Z on your keyboard. Much like most other software, Control Z is the universal undo button. All right, and then if you hit W, once again, you have your translate tools to move. E will be rotate, so you have this circle pop up, and with this circle, you can move it side to side or just rotate it any direction. And R is for resize, so making things tall or wide or just bigger. You can use all these tools on the side, these little arrows, to move it in the direction that you want it to grow bigger or smaller. Also, we're going to go to edit mode at this top tab here underneath edit and render. And what this is going to do, it's going to show us a bunch of dots and lines. It's all probably going to be glowing orange. These are our three major geometry tools here. So these dots are called vertices. They are points on your object that are connected by lines or edges. So all of these dots are connected by edges. And these edges will make up faces, which is the main shape. So we have a long rectangle here that is made up of 4 vertices and 4 edges. And all these together make up our cylinder. And what 3D artists do is they'll take these edges and vertices and faces and they'll move them and push them and pull them to create a sculpture in 3D space. So from this, I could make basically anything. If I wanted to make, a tree, I could make a tree from this if I put enough effort into it. It sounds like a lot and it sounds like it would take a long time, and it sometimes does. But it is how we work. Also, 3D artists can also sculpt. But we won't be going over those tools today. We'll be sticking to just these basics. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to move this cylinder up and I'm going to use my first tool. So I'm going to go into edit mode so I can see all my lines. I'm going to go to our loop cut tool. I'm going to make a loop. So this is going to make another edge that goes around all the cylinder. I'm going to move it down towards the bottom, and I'm going to make another loop. So I'm going to press loop cut again and make one right in between the bottom and that new edge loop. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these faces. So I'm going to go in face mode for select. So vertices is 1 on your keyboard while you're in edit mode. Edges is 2. Face mode is 3. Press 3 for these edges. And you can select all of these by double clicking an edge. So if I double click this edge right here, I'll select this. And in face mode, select these faces, double click on the edge, and I'll select all of them. And shift select to select this bottom face as well. I'm going to pull this out with our resize tool. And resize is also right here, or you can press R on your keyboard. And there we have the basics of our top hat. So one more tool we can use to create the bottom of our hat is I'm going to select this bottom face and inset faces. This is going to come up with another circle, and we're going to use this to make another edge loop from that circle, and we're gonna resize it so it's a bit smaller. And then you have this little circle that's gonna be the hole at the bottom of our hat. This is where your head goes in. So all this is still selected. I'm going to go to extrude. So extrude can extrude a face to make another shape down here, or I can extrude it inward to make a hole. So there we have the inside of our hat. So you might be wondering, Anna, this looks like there is a lot of sharp edges in our model. Usually hats don't look like this in real life. So one thing we can do is to smooth things. We can go to Object, Shade Smooth while our object is selected. And it smooths it a bit. Also, we can use a tool over here on the right-hand side and go to Properties. Just a little green triangle, Normals, and Auto Smooth. And there we can see the edges that are important to define our object, but also keeps the side of it smooth and not so pokey looking. There we have our hat. So there is two more major steps we have to do in order to create a semi-realistic looking hat for our game. So next step in 3D modeling is something called UV editing. And we have to do this before we texture or paint or color our model. So UV editing will take our model and it'll tell our software how exactly we project the faces of our model onto the texture. So the texture will be the image that has color on it. So I'm going to go to UV editing up here at the top tab, in between sculpting and texture paint. And it's going to come up with this split window. And now this over here on the left is going to be our UV sheet. If you've ever seen something like the little Santa chocolates, a good example of UVs is these Santa chocolates that are pretty popular. They'll have a tin foil surrounding the chocolate, and it'll have like a an image of like Santa on it. And that image of Santa, if you take the foil off and press it flat, will look much different than what it looks like when it's wrapped around the chocolate. That's kind of a similar concept to what UV editing is. So what we're gonna do is we're going to select a lot of our edges. So I'm gonna go to edit mode once again, and edge. I'm gonna select this top edge. I'm gonna shift select this bottom edge and the bottom of the brim, as well as the insides of our hat. So all of these are selected. I'm going to shift select this edge that goes on the side so it unwraps flat. And once all of these are selected, I'm going to go to UV unwrap. Oops, sorry. I'm going to select all of this first and then UV unwrap.
What does UV stands for in this case?
UVs are the I believe the axes in which the texture is unfolded.
Okay, cool.
I don't believe U and V stands for anything in particular.
Okay.
Just the axes. I'm gonna do that one more time. Select. Oh, I see when my inputs didn't go through. So once these are selected, we're gonna go UV mark seam, and then once again we're gonna go UV unwrap. Then you'll have a bunch of these UVs on the left here. So these are me circles. And I'm going to take these and I'm going to spread them out so they don't overlap. And so we have a bunch of different circles. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm doing this very, very messy and quick, but this is, the basics of how this would work. So this is all, these are these specific islands, UV islands. You can see that I made seams for. So seams on a model are kind of like, you think of seams on your clothing. If you were to cut your clothing along the seams and lay it out flat, it's a very similar concept to that. So these seams are what separate different shapes on your model. So once you have this, we're going to go over to texture paint. Texture paint is a top tab here in Blender, right next to UV editing. And it's going to come up with another window, and our model is going to look purple. That just means that we don't have a texture on it yet. So we're going to change that, and we're going to add some color. So I am going to, usually it has texture paint mode automatically enabled, so we're going to stay in that. We're going to go over to the right side of our screen here and go to the plus symbol next to no textures and base color. And here we're going to name our texture. So I'm going to call this top hat texture 01. And then we can leave everything else and just hit OK. And then we're going to go over here to viewport shading at the top right and click next to the circle that's already highlighted. So just to the right, we're going to viewport shading. So then we can see our color. And then we're going to go to the top left here, the top of the screen of the texture area. We have our texture is in here. So we're going to select this. This is what we just made. So similar to software like Photoshop or Paint.net or GIMP, we are going to use some basic painting tools to make a texture on our model. So we have tools like draw and soften and smear, clone, fill, mask. We're just going to use probably two of these to start with. So I'm going to go to the fill bucket tool. And up here at this blank white color slot, click this, we have our color wheel. So I can pick any color that I want. So I think I'm going to make this top hat today purple. So I'm going to select purple and then go over here to our texture. I'm going to click. And then now our top hat is purple. So another tool you might want to use is the paintbrush. So if I wanted to make a hat with polka dots, I could do that. So I can select paintbrush. If I wanted to change a color, I can change color here and then just press. I can draw anything I want on this texture or directly onto this model. So this is called hand paint texturing. This is mostly what I do for work. So what I will do is I'll create my model and then I can paint color onto my top hat to create any image or any style that I want. So I'm just going to put some dots on here. Doesn't have to look cool or perfect. It's just an example. I think it's pretty cool. A top hat with polka dots it's pretty awesome. You don't see many of those. All right. So here's my top hat. So with this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go image and it has a little star next to it. I'm just gonna save my texture. So I'm gonna go image, save as. I'm gonna go to my desktop and hit top hat texture, save as image. And once that's done, you can go back to layout. I'm gonna select our model, file, export, wavefront.obj. And OBJ is the files we typically use for exporting and importing 3D objects. So we're going to press this. And I'm going to go desktop. I'm going to call it top hat. I'm going to hit selection only just in case I had other 3D models in our viewport and export.
So one of the students said it says no texture detected. He's probably following along. I don't know whether this is a question or not, or
Um, if you weren't able to color on your model, That probably would be why. So if you do want to make a texture, we would go to paint slot, base color, and then you would name it here and hit OK. Um, if you don't have an image, if this looks blank to you, might look something like this. You can also search for the image that you just saved. Go to texture, make sure the texture is here and it's on the model, and then hit image, save as while this is open.
I saw you selected pretty much everything for the UV view. Like if you don't select everything, does that just mean that when you're working on it, that part of the model is not going to be affected?
So in UV editing, if I hit Control A on my keyboard and select all of it, it'll show me everything I have selected here. So
Mm,
if I wanted to select just these UVs here, it'll only show me these UVs. And if I wanted to edit these UVs in this window, I can only just do the ones I have selected. So yes.
got it. Okay. And the person was saying there's a top hat texture there, but not on the top hat on the left. I'm not so sure what it means.
Hmm.
If it,
Yeah, if you can't follow along, if something like went wrong, I did go fast, like I said, because we don't have too much time. I did include some files. So if you had those pre-downloaded, you can also use those files to import to Roblox Studio for our next step. It'll be like the same file that we're working with here. And I'll also show you other ways to use 3D art without having to make your own in Blender as well. So don't stress too much. You can always come back and keep playing in Blender. A lot of things can go wrong. Sometimes there's just errors just because Blender doesn't feel like working. It's rare, but it happens sometimes. Or, you just miss a step and things get confused on Blender's end and it doesn't know exactly what you're looking for. So don't worry, don't worry. So we are going to go to our next step now. So hopefully if you have your top hat exported, you can also now open up Roblox Studio. So give me 1 minute while I do that. I'm gonna stop sharing for 5 seconds.
so I'm typing. I know some you have like Roblox Studio, even though you may not have Blender. I just type the link to the chat. So if you can open it up, that's a file drive, and you will see the top
Mhm.
hat dot obj. I think that's one you're going to import into the.
Yes, yeah, yeah. There should be a top hat.obj and a top hat texture. I think it's a PNG file. So there's two files. So one's for the texture, one's for the 3D model that you can download.
Yeah. So even if you didn't do the Blender thing, but you have Roblox Studio, you can still follow this part that Anna is going to show.
All right, so if you have Roblox Studio, you can open that up. We're gonna just use a blank um, place file to start with. It'll open probably the splash screen, and you can just go to New, and it'll make a blank uh, base plate. You can also do File and New from here. You should have an empty floor and a spawn. So this is where our character will spawn in when we test. But in order to import our 3D models into Roblox Studio, there's a couple of steps we have to take. So basics of Roblox Studio, you'll have another viewport. So this is our 3D space here. The camera is going to be a little bit different from Blender, but much like a Roblox game, you can use W, S, A, D on your keyboard to move your camera, and also your mouse. You can hold right button click to move the camera around, and the scroll button is to zoom in and out. So you take a second to kind of play with it here. You can move around, you can dance around. So we're gonna import our top hat. So we're gonna go to Insert Basic Objects here on the left. If you don't have this window, you can also open it by going to the Model tab at the top here and insert object. There's a little hexagon icon. And press this. And it'll open insert basic objects. And then in the search bar, we're going to type mesh. And then it'll say mesh part. And that's what we're going to use. So we're going to click this and it'll bring in a little brick. So with this brick, we can do also in Roblox Studio, we have basic gimbal translate tools and rotate and scale and model. It's also in home. So recommend you doing this with this brick, but if you want to play around with it, there's also tools you can use to move things in your Roblox game. So mesh part, and then I am going to go to mesh ID. I'm going to find my top hat. So top hat.obj is on my desktop. So I'm going to open this. I'm going to hit no. And it's going to load in my top hat. And there we have it. We have the top hat I made in Blender now in Roblox Studio. So with this, say maybe you, instead of a top hat, you made trees or hills. You can take this and you can use it to populate your game. So you can take the top hat and you can Control D to duplicate or Control C, Control V to copy and paste. Maybe I want to make a world of top hats. I'm just gonna have them floating. Maybe my game is all about falling top hats. I'm just gonna put these around. I'm gonna put one more in the sky just because I can. And
That's
I'm gonna highlight all of them and then hit anchor so they don't fall. And now they are in my game.
they look great. Awesome looking top hat.
So yeah, we don't have too much more time to do on to work on the demo, but also very quickly, if you wanted to, you could also use this to upload to the Roblox catalog to create clothing items for your avatar. So there is a process in which you can also use a plugin called where is it? UGC validator to show bounds. That's one we use, an asset creator, also to make UGC tools. So if in the future, I believe you have to be ID verified on Roblox if you want to make your own accessories. So you have to have a government issued ID. So most people, that's like a driver's license. So when you're 15 to 16, you could potentially be a UGC creator. So as long as you have that ID verification as well as Roblox Premium, you can upload your own packaging accessories to Roblox. Right, and I think that's about the end of our demo.
Cool. Do you want to show? I don't know, maybe you're gonna cover it. Are you gonna do you want to show them your store? Like you have your own UGC storefront.
Yeah, I can do that real quick. One moment. So I am just gonna go to roblox.com. I'm gonna bring up. So this is Roblox, is what, if you haven't been on Roblox before, this is the main game page, and it shows a bunch of different games you can play here. I'm gonna go to Marketplace. I'm gonna type in my username. So my username on Roblox is SunnyTomos. So I'm gonna type that in and hit go to search all the items that I've made. So these are some of the items that I've made in Blender and imported to Roblox that people can wear on their Roblox avatars. So I've done glasses and hats and fun different accessories like the juice boxes, hairs. I've made characters like Red Panda here, necklaces, a lot of different stuff over the years. So this is something that I like to do for fun.
That's great.
All right, back to the slideshow. So art in games. So why is 3D art important? Specifically, like, in games or any kind of games, not even 3D. Um, so game art creates the game's world from the environment to the characters within it. So you can't have a 3D based game without 3D art. So you need things like the trees and the buildings and the characters. And also 3D art can influence player behavior. So maybe if you have like a set of three different hallways and but you want the player to go down one certain hallway. Maybe you use game art to highlight that hallway. So maybe while the other hallways look blank and dark and spooky, the one that you want them to go down has lights and color, stuff like that. So it can influence how players react to certain things in the game. It also sets the tone in the game. So if you look at this picture here, this is from Squishmallows on Roblox, which I made or helped make. Um, what do you think is happening here? Do you think I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? They're trick-or-treating with their friends on Halloween. So the art looks kind of spooky and it's purple and orange and Halloween themed. They're wearing costumes. It tells a visual story. So what do you think they're doing here? They're probably, holding candy and putting things in their candy buckets for trick-or-treating. And also can hold the player's attention. So you want players to play your game as long as possible, right? So you don't want, to create a game and people join and they're just like, it's kind of bland. I don't really want to be here. Um, Game art, 3D art and specifically can, hold someone's attention and be like, whoa, this world is really cool. It's bright, it's colorful, it's fun. So game art is really important for that aspect as well.
Someone said she has played your game and it's super cute.
Oh, well, thank you for playing our game. We really appreciate it. We've done Squishmallows on Roblox for a couple of years now, and it's a joy to work on, and our community is wonderful. So I'm happy to hear that you've checked it out. We appreciate you.
Another person who
Um,
has played. Wow, that's great.
Woo!
For a popular game. So do you guys tend to have new themes for like special occasions and all that?
hmm
Okay.
Yes, so major holidays like Halloween and Christmas and Easter will do specific themed events, also Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day we deck out our whole game in, bright reds and pinks and whites to help celebrate and we'll do specific launches. So like Halloween back here, I think this was from last year, we did specific Halloween Squishmallow drops. So I decorated the whole world to look Halloween styled, and there was a trick-or-treating mini game event. And with these trick-or-treat items, you could take these and you could go to the claw machines and get specific Halloween limited time only Squishmallows. So we do stuff like that.
It's awesome. Well, Halloween is coming, so hopefully
Yeah,
we'll
so if
check
you
out the
want,
game.
if you're interested in Squishmallows on Roblox, just type in Squishmallows on Roblox, on the Roblox game page, and it'll come up. And we have a bunch of um, Halloween activities you can participate in. And you can get some cool Halloween squishes.
Very cool.
So, a very basic game art pipeline. So, when you're working in a studio like I do, there's a lot of different steps you have to take in order to make a game. So step one, if you're an artist like me, you'll brainstorm the game idea with your teammates. So you'll sit down and be like, what kind of game do you want to make? Do we want to make a racing game, or do we want to make a trick-or-treating game? Or do we want to make a game about swimming? Figure that out first, and then from there you can be like, oh, okay, we're gonna figure out the how the world looks. So we'll start with concept art. Concept art is the step where before you go into Blender and make your 3D model, where you will draw physically. You might draw on your computer in a software like Photoshop or maybe on a pen, like pen and paper even, draw what you're thinking of. So maybe I want to do a silo building, but I don't know exactly how I want to make it. So I'll do three different versions of that building in order to narrow down exactly how I want to create it. So once you've narrowed down exactly how you want to create your art, then you do the 3D modeling. So that's the step where you go into Blender and you make your 3D shape or sculpt it to create what you want. So if I want to make a tree, I'll go into Blender and then make that tree. And then UV mapping, which is remember the step in between modeling and texturing. So you unwrap the UVs or the faces of your model so that you can project your texture on it, which is the next step. Texturing, which is what we did before to paint on our top hat to make color and make it look more visually appealing. And then after that, we'll take that object and our texture and we'll import it to our game engine. So like our example in our demo, we took our object from Blender to Roblox Studio and we imported that. And then we can do environmental design, so populating your world with whatever you want. If you want a game that's based in the forest, you'll import all your trees and your bushes and your ferns to make the look of the game. And then you'll test it. So once you have all your trees in and your buildings, you'll hit the play button on Roblox Studio and it'll load up your character to test it and you'll run around and see if everything looks like how you want it to look. And then from there, of course, you'll have your scripters and people who program who can also go in and, add all the functionality to your game. So also we talked a little bit about this. We talked about 3D art for digital fashion. This is something I also do. So 3D art can also be used to create virtual avatars for things like clothing on games like Roblox. Examples here, I've done work with e.l.f. Cosmetics to create a line of clothing for them for one of their Roblox experiences. Here's an example of concept art. I drew out exactly how I wanted to make this jacket and I gave it to the team at e.l.f. and said, hey, do you think this is good? Do you want any changes? And if they want changes, they'll tell me, oh, maybe this jacket could be a little bit shorter. And then I'll make that change and send it in again. And once they say, okay, this looks good, then I made it in 3D. And then I was able to upload this to Roblox and they were able to sell it on their experience. So here's some examples. I did a jacket, a tank top, and some pants. Also did concept art for characters. So I have two characters on Roblox. The red panda. Example here, I drew the red panda and Roblox actually did the step of creating it in 3D. This was before I could personally do it because I didn't have access. So they did it for me and uploaded it to Roblox. I've also done the avatar Alana of the Stars. And that was one of the first more humanoid, more realistic avatars on Roblox.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah, so now we're going to get into a little bit of brainstorming. So, those of you who want to enter the NSF Game Maker Awards competition, we're going to think about life in 2100 and how science and technology shapes the future.
Maybe we'll just do a quick one because I know we're short on time, and I think students probably still want to ask you questions.
Yeah.
Um, are there some keyword that you want to just, instead of having them pick something, do you want to just pick some keyword and have them think a little bit about it and see who has idea, and then we can brainstorm together? Anna, do you want to do that, or you want me to show the slides?
I know a couple of them off my head. I think maybe we can think about, maybe like an interesting combination would be something like, um, there was the Arctic and Antarctic, so maybe you can do something with penguins, and then space. I think there's one with rockets, so maybe you think about penguins and rockets.
Okay, so we're going to try to do a brainstorming, a very quick one, and think of a game that has to do with penguin and rocket. And it can be any kind of game. If you're interested in, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. And what do you think a game with penguin and rocket might do? Yeah. Any thought? Anyone want to share your ideas?
Be as creative as you can. That's the whole point.
Some of our students might have to run. Like,
Yeah, it's okay. If you have to go, no worries. It was
yeah.
nice having you.
Anyone want to do an idea with penguin and rocket?
Send the penguin to space. I think that's a good idea.
What is your game is going to be about? Send penguin to space. Is it like, let's see, a racing game or
Yeah.
or it's a game where you have to avoid like asteroid in
So
the
different, yeah,
in
different
this
styles of games or types of games. There's like racing games or social games. Um,
that would be interesting to build like a social thing
yeah.
um with a bunch of penguins on a rocket. You run and you going to space and be the first one to get there. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Maybe you have to race your teammates who are also penguins and you have to get to a new planet.
Okay. Someone also sent like a penguin ro a rocket dance game. That's interesting.
Ooh. That's creative. I like that.
That's interesting. So you have kind of like one of those dance games, except that it's like the character can be a penguin, but I don't know about rocket part.
Maybe the better you do in the dance, the higher your rocket flies.
Oh, I love that. And someone said Planet Penguin can be its name. And send the penguin to out of the multiverse. Okay.
There
All
we
right.
go.
I want you guys to keep typing your idea, but I also want to open it up for Q&A with Anna. Do you guys have any questions for her? If you do have questions, you can raise your hand and I'm going to unmute you. So the first person is Cohen. Let me try to unmute. Go ahead. I think you should be able to unmute yourself now, Cohen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Um, so I'm doing the laser tag template in the Roblox studio. Is there like a way that I can like have like AI or like someone to like make sure like that like any updates that I do to it like work?
So if you're wanting to update your game, you'll probably want someone, maybe a friend who has knowledge in programming. Also, you can have a team of friends to test your game. So whenever we update our Roblox games, we'll make sure that um our game is working. So in order to do that, usually what you have to do is actually play your game. So you might go to play testing. So in Roblox, so you can hit play and test it that way, or you can upload your game and to a live server, and then you can test in there. But if you need to make any edits to your code, you'll have to do that. I think there's an AI, and I'm not a programmer, so I don't know the specifics of this because I don't use the coding end of Roblox Studio too often. But I know there is an AI or something that I believe is live now where it will look at your code and it'll see, me my type uh look for what is wrong in my code and it'll search for, what is broken. Um you might have to Google that and look it up exactly how to use that, but a couple of steps you can take, like I said, test it to make sure nothing's broken. If something is broken, you can ask a friend to help you out that's, has knowledge in programming, or you can use the AI.
Cool. Um, yeah, I think the AI is live, but it may not be the standard distribution. You have to get the developer
Mm,
pilot version to get it. I do have a quick question for you. I know there are other students and want to ask you a question as well.
yeah.
Is I assume like you always enjoyed art was like since you were young, but what did you do as for art when you were young and how did you get started on Blender? specifically, I guess.
So my art journey started when I was very young. So I started playing Roblox when I was 14, which was over 10 years ago, in my late 20s. So I've been playing Roblox for a long, long time. When I first started Roblox, I was just a player. I didn't make my own games, but as I learned about studio and like I was like, oh, I can, I could try to make this for my friends and I could make a cool hangout area. Well, a couple things I did is I did 2D art. So I drew the 2D clothing for Roblox avatars, and that was one of the first things I did. And I also used the building tools in Roblox Studio, even just free models. If you've heard of free models before, um, you can go to, I can open up real quick. And I still have Roblox open. There's also, if you don't want to upload your own 3D art in Roblox, what you can do is you can go to, let's see, the toolbox on Roblox, and you can search. There's 3D models that are already made for you. So you can go to things like, oh, I want a structure. I want the classic Roblox house. I can just press this and it'll automatically drop it in my Roblox game. So I did that when I was just starting out. So I made games of just free models. And then from there, I learned how to animate in college. So I went to college for animation. I learned how to do software like similar to Blender in school. And then I took a bunch of those skills and then transferred those to Roblox and made a career out of it.
Very cool. All right, I'm gonna have Anna be the next person. So we're gonna just do two more questions, including the one Anna can ask. Anna, go ahead.
I was wondering on what exactly like inspired you to animate like full time.
What inspired me? Well, I grew up loving games. And I did go to college for animation, because I love film as well. I love film like, Pixar movies, and I love just all of that. Just I love the entertainment industry, and I love sitting back and watching a good movie that's animated. And I think it's such a fun art form. And also I love games, and I always have since I was very, very, very little. And I grew up playing Roblox, and it was just the perfect bridge between something that I love and something that I wanted to do, more as just more than a hobby. So I took a lot of inspiration from my friends who also made Roblox games and my classmates in college who loved doing 3D art and film. And I took that and I went, oh, I can take these skills I learned in school and my hobby, which is playing Roblox, and combine them and made a career out of them.
That's really cool. I think it's like just going from like a player to actually a creator, a maker, as you get deeper into it. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think the last question going to be Wolfgang. Go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead. Yep.
Um, how do you like give your player like you know how like when you spawn in, you spawn with items? How do you
Mhm.
spawn with like items, like a sword?
So usually what will happen is your programmer will program a script for your characters to hold items. I believe you can also maybe basically do this similarly. I think there's a couple of steps that go into it. You have to set it up in a particular way. It has to have like a handle in the model, which is part of like the rigging. But also, I believe you can also put things in starter player scripts. You have to put those models in there. But there's plenty of tutorials that go into detail on this on YouTube. So if you want to learn something specific about Roblox, like wanting to hold the sword, there's a lot of people that give free lessons online. Just Google or go onto YouTube and be like, hey, how Roblox, how to hold a sword in
Why are
studio.
you sitting
And it'll
on me?
show this, and it'll show you how to do it basically. Unfortunately, I can't
Wait,
go
I'm still
through.
unmuted.
Oh, unfortunately, don't have time to like go through all those steps, but there's
Oh,
definitely something you can do.
Also, I spawned several AI helicopters and they're too OP. They're destroying me.
That'll
That's
happen if you're not careful. You'll be attacked by helicopters at any time. You have to be always aware in studio.
Yeah. So if you guys are, Anna is right, like there are lots of videos online to teach you how to get started on Roblox. We also offer like a free 1 hour session, like multiple times a week. You can come
Yeah.
and get the basics. Maybe I'll ask you one last question myself. Like, how do you work with game developers and engineers as an artist?
Mm. So, there's, a few ways you can go about it, but, in my studio, there's usually it's a small team. So the game that I'm currently working on, is honestly just me and one other person for the most part. So it's me on the art side, and then my friend or coworker who's also a programmer. So I'll make all the art for the game, and I'll check in with her from time to time, be like, hey, what do you need for this ability, or do you need art for the inside of this building? How can I help? And then she'll tell me like, hey, I need this built in this specific way. Can you split the model into these parts so I can move it? So say we were making a car together. I would make the car in Blender and import it into Roblox Studio, and it might be in a couple of different pieces. So it might be the base of the car and the wheels are separate. And then I'll take that and I'll group it together on Roblox Studio and pass it off to my coworker, and I'll be like, hey, this is ready for you. What else do you need from me? And then she'll look at it and be like, oh, this is perfect. And then she'll write, her script, and she'll hook everything up through rigging and programming, to make the car be able to sit in it, to drive it. So it's just really, it's basically just communication, just talking with your teammates in order to get something done.
That's cool. Yeah, like really great communication between the two. So it's nice to have
Yeah.
a partner to work together
Yeah.
on the games. Awesome. I think with that, we are going to finish up today. Thank you so much for joining us, Anna. Really enjoy the talk. And I
Yeah.
am, as you said, we are going to put the video up on YouTube. So other students, we have actually a lot more students sign up, and I'm going to share with them as well so they can follow along and watch your video and learn as well. And thanks everyone for joining us. Have a nice weekend.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. It was an honor to teach you today.
Awesome. Great to see you all. So I will, thanks again, Anna. I'm going to get everyone, I'm going to stop recording now.